Should we watch the depravity of Donald Trump and drink while we do it and get freaky? You want to get freaky with it? I just want to do a tiny little bit of drama. I want to do a tiny little bit of drama with this. There's a tiny bit of drama.
Pause to go after.
No, shut up, Hassan, you fucking beautiful Turk.
I want to apologize.
Because I have not caught up with Ethan Klein shit at all. This is 2 days ago. This is probably old for most of you, but let me react in 4K. Let me react in 4K and see what's happening. Thank you very much, Feeder, and thank you, Pedal Boarding. That's very nice. Saying pedal boarding, though, is very, very niche, because I think in Macedonian and Bulgarian, that's the F slur. Like, I'm not going to say it again now, but like before boarding, that's the F slur in our in those two languages. So it's wacky.
For things that I genuinely got wrong. For example,
we're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents, and I'm actually really excited.
Being a commie on Twitch is an active process of cuckoldry, because you always get cucked by Hassan. Send this clip to him. I don't care. It's massive respect to him and what he managed to build up. Being a lefty streamer on Twitch is a constant cuckoldry, because if he's not streaming and you're watching a Hassan video, there's always going to be chatters that are like, "Oh, Hassan is not on, but I can watch him through you." Like literally cucking me in 4K, being like, "I wouldn't watch you, but like you're watching the guy that I watch, so that's the only reason I'm watching you." It's crazy. It's okay, you know. It's fine. It hits my soul. Clip this and send it to the fucking Turk. Thank you, Pip. Fantastic. Welcome to the community, man.
To go there, I want to show you guys how
I stream when he doesn't. Watch me when he doesn't stream, you fucking assholes.
Beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
looking back, I definitely feel ashamed for the way I spoke about Israel with such levity at the time that a genocide was happening.
Oh my God. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh my fucking God. The king of Ozempic, the king of the Trotsky aesthetic. If Trotsky had a wife that sold clothes, okay, is in here saying sorry. Oh Lord. I have not pre-watched this. This is my first experience. Thank you, Arxio, King Vidora, you fucking legend, and Roster Freak. Welcome to the community, guys. I wouldn't have gotten you in here if the goddamn Turk wasn't streaming, but it's very nice to have you.
That's cool. That's good first step, I think. If only that was the only reason why people were like, hey, man, I think you might be defending it.
No, man. Fucking. I always say it. Hassan is too good for his own good. I was literally saying you need to fucking drag your massive hairy fucking Turkish testicles all over Ethan Klein's forehead like 6 months before he dragged his massive hairy Turkish balls all over his forehead. Keep doing it. Don't let him backtrack. With all due respect, I know like wide alliances, blah blah blah. I completely feel it. But with Ethan Klein, no, for one very particular reason. I'm joking, but now I'm turning. Thank you, Roster Freak. I'm making you a very very serious pitch. Ethan Klein, listen to me. Go quiet. Like close your door so your mom doesn't hear you. Ethan Klein and H3H3 have been the biggest Zionist whitewashing platform on the entirety of the internet for the last 2 years. This is not a small content creator or Instagram or Twitter poster that from time to time whitewashed what the Israelis are doing and so on, that we can forgive and reintegrate. This is the biggest one, okay? They are the Zionist CNN of the internet. There is no going back from that, with all due respect. No going back from that. The thought of a thought of quote unquote letting bygones be bygones with these particular individuals is insane. Because would you let bygones be bygones with, Tel Aviv Times or something? No, you would not. With Der Stürmer from Nazi Germany. This is the peak of the hierarchy of Zionist propaganda. And we should always remember that. Thank you very much, Xi Jinping, for the 6 gifties. And Yeet the Rich, what's up, my friend? Very nice to see you.
Israel a little too hard, calling its prominent critics of Muslim background terrorists.
Some fresh criticism for Hassan, who is an outright supporter of terrorism. Quite literally. He is a champion for terrorism and a supporter of terrorism.
And its prominent critics of Jewish background, token Jews.
Jews are allowed to have...
No. Turk's making me proud. He's not accepting it. Turk's making me proud. Hey, you beautiful piece of shit. Fucking love you cunt. Hey.
different perspective and stuff, but this man is like the embodiment of a
Hassan El Wen.
Jewish token.
Hassan El Wen. You know how difficult it is for me as a Balkan to give compliments to a Turk? Ugh, it's so fucking difficult.
Holy.
But Hamas supporters all the same, Because remember, it's not just people like myself that he just actively went.
And he's still suing pro-Palestinian creators, which is fucking whack. How are they doing, by the way? I'm too grass touchy to catch up with that shit. I don't know, chat. Help me out. Are they doing okay? I reached out to some of them, let me help, etc., etc. Never heard back. So I thought, they probably are doing okay. I'm really hoping they are. I really, really hope they are. Did they manage to crowdfund the lawsuit fees and so on? I am too grass touchy. I don't know. Thank you, Anon. Thank you, Xi Jinping. He'll destroy Frogan? Really? Is it that bad?
And after,
I love how Chad is also grass touchy and can't even tell me except for Tommy.
he went after anti-Zionist Jews as well with a similar level of intensity, demanding that Matt Lieb get fired from Good Mythical Morning.
So yeah, Matt Lieb. And I still think he should get fired. And I think that every day that Rhett and Link keep this guy on the payroll is a disgrace to them.
Consistently
Fucking love Matt Lieb. Fucking love Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb is the shit. And his colleague in the fucking show. Interviewed them in the program. They're fucking hilarious. One of the best episodes we've ever fucking made. And also when we went on their show, also one of the best episodes they've ever fucking made. Fucking legends, both of them.
calling him a token Jew, defending the
The only Hasbara I like is bad Hasbara. Hey!
Gaza Holocaust Fund, the GHF, also known as the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, to try to get a own on.
I'll leave you with the Turk. Let me go take a piss real quick.
His opposition, to try to get an own on me having a Atlantic Council Palestinian who is a firm and committed defender of Israel with a Palestinian association to go on the broadcast to talk about how all of the prominent critics of Israel are actually also dangerous Hamas supporters who don't simply understand the situation at all.
We don't have critical race theory in Palestine. We have now critical Palestine theory. And that is the Palestinians have no agency. There's no accountability. What they did on October 7th was an inevitability. And that's why I call that the inevitability fraud. Mm-hmm. That October 7th was an inevitability when it wasn't. And so that's where I was really surprised that on day 2 or 3, there were these mass protests.
Right.
Effectively celebrating it and at the same time calling it a genocide.
Even fundraising for the Atlantic Council.
It's always hard to decide, like, what's the best way to help these people. And for an advocate here who knows people in Gaza, has lived in Gaza, to be like, this is the best place.
Absolutely.
And someone who's critical of Hamas, too. So, like, I feel like this is coming from only the best place possible to help the people there. And so I was...
Sorry, that took a second. It took me a while to... go through my massive socialist mansion in order to get to the toilet. I should have a bucket in front of the office at all times. Yeah, I do call it the office. I know it's cringe, but I call it the office. If I have a kid at any point, this place will have to be the child's room. I have 2 bedrooms in the place I bought with a mortgage, of course. So I'll probably have to buy or rent out an office space. That's going to be so weird. A child is going to cost me more than most people because I will, unironically, if I have a kid, I will lose my place of work. Insane. Breeders are crazy.
Quick to support and recommend other people support it as well.
Which is a right-wing American think tank. America is once again a belligerent in this genocide that Israel is
It is an active participant, but belligerent is okay.
conducting against the Palestinians. There's so much more that Ethan Klein has done, but I'll take it. I'll take this first apology. I think it's good. It more so just
Is he doing like a meta joke, or I don't know? Like, is he doing a meta joke? Like, oh, okay, I'll take it like a form of indignifying Ethan even more, or is it serious? I hope it's not serious. Like, respectfully, I hope it's not serious. Like, because don't this,
represents
like,
the
this is like accepting Fox News apology, because Ethan Klein, when it comes to Zionism, is the Fox News of the internet. It is 100% the Fox News of the internet. This is the biggest digital pro-Zionist whitewashing platform on the entirety of the internet.
tide shift that is finally even hitting him in the face. You know what I mean? For the longest time, he just refused to recognize what was going on, and the walls kept closing in. Yes, as Omer El-Akkad said, one day we will all have been against this. One day. And it's getting there right now. This is bullshit. He was just posting the token Palestine Israel uses the other day, saying you were responsible for attacks against them. Dude, that's not even the tip of the iceberg. Whether it be the relentless defending of Gaza.
You want some water? That vodka starts hitting. Today I had a croissant.
Humanitarian fund.
I eat very much food, yes.
On Foundation's talking points over and over again, even at the time when the international advocacy organizations and human
No, Fox News are ironically funny. He's just embarrassing.
rights organizations were saying this is an aid trap, this is perfidy, this is a war crime. It is literally directly mentioned in the UN report that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation unironically played a role in the famine that was taking place as a part of Israel's genocidal project, as a part of Israel's genocidal ambition. He kept posting their talking points over and over again. He kept posting their press releases over and over again. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. He kept posting Hen Mazik from the Tel Aviv Institute. Hen Mazik, you might recall, wrote that article for the Hollywood Reporter against Hannah Einbinder after she came out and said Free Palestine, Israel on her Emmy Awards recognition. All of that is out there for people to watch. Part of the reason why I didn't, take too much offense over the context nuke that Ethan Klein put together at the time that he thought was going to be the end of my career, how foolish, how stupid, it was because he's not a believer in anything, really. Well, I guess maybe the state of Israel and the Zionist project. But outside of that, he's not a believer in anything beyond, I guess, whatever suits his fancy, whatever hurts his...
Whatever makes them money. But when it comes to Zionism, he is a believer. Yeah, he's 100% a believer. That's undeniable.
narcissistic feelings. So narcissistic.
Anybody who's not a real believer would have pulled out from fucking the, Israeli asshole much earlier. But Ethan nutted so hard in the Israeli pussy that he made it pregnant. So he is a believer. There's no denial. He's a liberal believer in it, but he's nonetheless a fucking believer.
Make an ongoing genocide all about himself and his own personal feelings. Having said that, the reason why I didn't
But
give
the thing that he's a believer in that's even grander than liberal Zionism is just trying to be right on the internet 100% of the time. It's a combination of being a wife guy, being a very classic wife guy, just your wife's a fascist, and narcissism. That's it. It's believing yourself. We have a word in Serbo-Croatian and I think also in Bulgarian and Macedonian of somebody that's just been like what's the word? Just winging it for a very long time, and then their career started low-key blowing up, and that motivates them to think that they are going to be correct on every single topic known to man, right? Because the fact that they are economically successful or particularly successful in their own industry means that they are a big G. And to be a big G implies that you know everything about everything. It's egoism on steroids. It's like narcissism combined with economic prosperity. Do you think Zionism has always been ethno-nationalist, or was there a time where it didn't have to be? That's a big question. That's a very big question. And I think it always would reproduce itself in ethno-nationalism because there's no plane of land on planet Earth where you could populate it without kicking out the local population. So even if the intention was not there, which I'm not saying that there wasn't, but even if the intention was there to find an empty piece of land and only populate it, it would eventually result in what we see now because there was never such a place. If the international community was like wise enough, originally post World War II, they would have forced the German state to, for example, give up large swaths of land to a Jewish state, for example. That's the closest I can think of ethical way of creating a quote-unquote Jewish state without having to fuck over anyone that quote-unquote doesn't deserve it. But this is a big conversation point as well. It would always end up being unhinged and reactionary because of its inherent belief in a pure ethno-state, as Red Phil says, right? So it's ethno-states always are not problematic. They're like to an extent inherently reactionary, even when pitched with progressive nationalism, because like progressive, like let's take like I don't know the Cuban Revolution. That was, for example, progressive nationalism, kicking out colonizers, kicking out slavers, kicking out American economic imperialism. But once it took over, it didn't switch into okay, let's talk about what a Cuban is, and then imagine if they were like okay. If it was not a socialist revolution or a progressive nationalist revolution, if you want to call it that, and it was just a reactionary one, even though reactionary revolution is a oxymoron, but you get my point. They would have then redirected shit at like, okay, what it means to be a Cuban. Okay, blacks are not really Cuban because they were important from Africa. Let's just send them over to Miami. They didn't do so because it was a progressive nationalist movement of actual liberation and so on. So they didn't go down the path of ethno-nationalism. You get my point? They didn't go down the path of Cuban ethno-nationalism. They went down the path of internationalism and creating a country where everyone gets to inherit what their forefathers have built there, be it if they were natives, if they were brought over on the boat, or, unironically, yes, the grandchildren of colonizers, right? Like white Cubans weren't kicked out either. And that's low-key what the dream is of a Palestinian state, where they end up building something that is even through all the pain of getting over it, quote-unquote, above the idea of an ethno-nationalist state that will just replace the previous ethno-nationalist state, where everyone who is okay with the new rules of the society, the way, for example, it was done in South Africa, is going to be able to be a fully legitimate citizen there after, obviously, shit gets recalibrated to make up for the previous injustices. something that one could very legitimately criticize South America for not doing, because they didn't properly deal with the leftover privileges of the South African whites that remained in the country, and that could have been very easily been dealt with through legislature, where they wouldn't take all their shit or something. They would just balance out. Under Castro, after Castro, under Castro, of course. They'll still fuck with Cuba today as well.
Too much is because time will pass. And I knew that eventually people would recognize right from wrong. More and more people would start recognizing exactly what was taking place. And when they did,
I say reactionary revolution makes sense as a term. What fascism is, more or less. Agree to disagree, because revolution implies change of system. Fascism does not get rid of capitalism, right? It just turns it into imperialism directed inwards as a means to protect the capitalist status quo. But this is just nerd shit. This is nerd shit. Fuck nerd shit. I don't fuck with nerd shit. Yeah, call it whatever you want. Fascist revolution, fucking fine. Who gives a fuck? Nationalism of the press tends to be different, although you still get some cases like the Khmer Rouge. Yeah, there you go. End of sentence. Right? Let's always be hyper honest with ourselves. But then you have the Khmer Rouge. Right? There you go. End of sentence. I mean, what is... come on, guys. Post-World War II, Zionism was nationalism of the oppressed. The international Jewish people, the Jewish people all over the world. But because it became ethno-nationalistic, it became Zionism as we see it today, in its current form and interpretation. Pressed by who? World War II, my friend. World War II. They did a little bit of oppression of Jewish people in World War II, But then that oppression was co-opted in a... not Arabs, of course not. What the fuck? No. But there you go. It was used against a people that never did to them what the Germans and other reactionary movements around Europe did to them against Arabs, Palestinians, and others. Palestinians weren't the ones, of course. But that's what I'm saying, right? The people that wore glasses weren't the ones oppressing the working people of that the Khmer Rouge was fighting, right? So it was under the banner of nationalist liberation, but it ended up doing fucked up shit, the way the Khmer Rouge, for example, did. Same way, the Israelis were under the banner of the liberation of the Jews, and they ended up doing the shit. Hell, Nazis were under the banner of liberating the Germans from what should I call it? The embarrassment laid upon their people after World War II. Once it turned into ethno-nationalism, what Nazism to a very large extent is, it became what it is. The main point here, guys, is that a quote-unquote national liberation can be co-opted into a reactionary movement that becomes what it was itself escaping. Right? You get my point? I think you get my fucking point. It's a fucking easy point. This is not a difficult point. Because what we're talking about here is utilizing nationalism either as a force for progress or a force of reaction. And in the case of Zionism, Nazism, and so on, it was utilizing nationalism as a form of reaction, where you're not liberating yourself from the colonizer. It is simply saying, I will no longer be colonized, I will become the colonizer. That's what Zionism is. That's what Zionism is. Zionism doesn't matter what ethnicity or whatever. It's saying, instead of saying, I will liberate myself from the colonizer and I will never colonize, no, Zionism is, I will liberate myself of the colonizer by becoming a colonizer. It still gives itself to the previously established conditions. I will not be stepped on by the boot by becoming the boot. But that's true to some extent in North and South American republics post-independence. They went on with colonial policies, conquering indigenous territory and murder. Yeah, dude, you have this, for example, this is a very, 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 very uncomfortable conversation. You had, this is going to be very uncomfortable. Half of you are going to fucking tune out. You had Native Americans that liberated themselves, let's call it, or like collaborated with certain you had Native Americans that when once given their so-called territories, they still brought their slaves over there. And that's used by right-wing pieces of shit to say like, oh, look, like, oh, the Native Americans are the same like us, blah, blah, blah. But ignore that argument. That's not the point of the fucking argument. The point of the fucking argument is that nationalist liberation movements can be turned reactionary. That's why we don't like fetishize particular ethnicities or nationalities or whatever the fuck. They're just there. They're not a moral category unto themselves because they were oppressed. Because that's unironically what the Zionist project used to be what they are today. They used, we were oppressed in World War II and for 10,000 years before then as a means of what? Of going over and killing a bunch of fucking people that are native to the fucking land and establishing our fucking apartheid system. Us as communists need to think outside of culture, ethnicity, or whatever boxes. That's lib shit. We should not ignore those categories. Fuck no. But if we start fetishizing any category as being above criticism, you get Israel. But that's literally the perfect example. So many millions upon millions had been murdered in the Holocaust. Therefore, they are above criticism in the future projects they enact. Are India with Hindutva right now? Yeah. Europeans used religious oppression to justify their genocide and colonialism of the Americas. Yeah, there you go. Another great point. Another absolutely great point. Europeans were running away from very real, no, not apparent, like very real oppression in Europe. And what did they use that as a cudgel for? To exterminate an entire, not a people, to exterminate like over 500 different nations in North and South America. Thank you, Hot Dog. I read it. Yeah. I'm grateful for you too, man. It's very nice to have you in chat. Boers also use their oppression to justify what was happening in South Africa. Of course, they do now. They do now. Black Americans using black capitalism, another great example. They justify the killing of Aztecs and Incas on their oppression against other indigenous nations. Yeah, that's the funniest thing ever. I mean, not funniest, but like it's the funniest excuse. That's why we need to stay away from constantly doing the whole it's difficult to say in the modern context of Palestine, but let's try to push ourselves away a little bit and like look at all of human history. So I'll say it again. That's why us as Marxists, we got to stay away from the whole eye for an eye shit. We do. We do. During the process of liberation, I can't say it TOS. How can I say it that it's TOS? During the process of liberating yourself from the colonial oppressor, it is a righteous war. Always. Always. But once that war ends, eye for an eye is low-key becoming who you were fighting. It is. And ironically, it's liberal. Like it is liberal moral brain rot. Do you want to establish something that is better than what came before? Or do you just want to win? Marxists are supposed to be above winning just for the sake of winning. We really are. And that is exceptionally difficult. That is so difficult. Because the drive, once you win, to take care of your previous oppressors is incredibly powerful. But socialists and even progressive nationalist movements of the past have shown an incredible capacity to not do so. But I'm only saying this from a theoretical side. I cannot sit here in my comfortable home and tell people that have been bombed and that have lost like 70% of their relatives what they're supposed to do post-liberation. Who the fuck am I? Who the fuck am I to tell them what the fuck to do? I'm going to admit to that privilege and not do so. All I'm saying is that there is historical context that shows us if we dedicate ourselves to that path, we end up eating a lot more shit than we were ready to dish out. It's also unpractical. Let's be honest. You think it's easy for them to paint us all as savages now? Imagine how easy it's going to be if we prove their point. It's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess.
I fear that they would look back.
British colonizers, Spanish colonizers, Portuguese colonizers in Americas, German, French, Russian in Europe, Dutch, Belgium, Italians in Africa, Asia, Taiwan, Indonesia, Libya, Congo, Ethiopia, all watch death tolls be like, yeah. Most of the times, for example, in Latin America, what happens is the anti-imperialist war united all classes, but later the bourgeois class just established their dominance in their now independent fiefdom. Yes, that's what happens. That's why it is exceptionally important to have class-conscious organizations that are going to take up the mantle post-progressive anti-imperialist revolution. But at the end of the day, a progressive nationalist movement is supposed to get rid of the colonizers and imperialists. That's the first point. And afterwards, yes, most likely it will be a new form of oppression where the domestic capitalists are going to, in a different manner, oppress the domestic populations through, class hierarchy and so on. But it will be better than when they lived under class oppression and colonial oppression. And the struggle becomes something new. It is stages. You cannot build socialism immediately while getting rid of the imperialist, except in particular cases. Like my part of the world. The Yugoslavs managed to build socialism while getting rid of the Nazi colonizers, which is insane. It's fucking insane. They didn't just jump from monarchy to Nazism to capitalism. They jumped from monarchy to Nazism to socialism, which is fucking wild. Vietnam is a great additional example. China is a very decent example, but they had their revolution starting before the Japanese invasion. Yep, and then it becomes an internal struggle. Yes, that's the point. That's why we should support, movements like the one in Burkina Faso. Except when they do fucking idiotic shit like the fucking gay laws. Like, what the fuck? I love how in the program we literally made an episode about Burkina Faso literally like fucking putting their dick in our mouth. I mean, like, these guys are based, and then like 2 weeks later, but whatever. I'm not gonna waste your time going on a rant about that. But that's why the word critical support exists. And it is incredibly privileged for somebody from any part of the world. This isn't just Westerners. Being like, I want the revolution to be perfect. I want them immediately to go from working in sweatshops and mines for the global north into like this ideal fucking socialist society. What fucking planet are you from, my friend? What fucking planet are you from? Chill the fuck out. Social conservatism tends to facilitate more or less regardless of the system. The USSR started very progressive, then backpedaled. Cuba did the opposite. Oh, yeah. Oh, don't even get me started on that one. Intersectionality is fucking everything. I don't know. I think we have Bulgarians in chat. Bulgaria is a perfect example of this. Bulgaria just like was fucking socially insane, dude. It was a very, very class-conscious society. Socially, it was fucking insane. The shit they did to the Turkish minority in the country. There you go. Another example of what I was talking about previously. They were like, the Ottomans were killing, raping, murdering, and colonizing us for 500 years. Literally correct. Nothing incorrect about that statement. But then, but we've liberated ourselves from them like 80, 120, 30 years ago. Let's now fuck up the Turkish minority in the country. What? What the fuck? What the fuck? Let's force them to change their names. And what? What communist forces people to change their name? What? The fucking hell? Or the Soviets being like, these are potentially reactionary nationalities. Let's move them all the way to the east because if the Germans attack again, they are going to support them. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? What the shit? What? Explain what, my friend? Bulgaria was under Ottoman occupation for like over 550 years, and in socialist Bulgaria, in order to upkeep appearances and ironically use reactionary politics to make sure that the current government of the time is seen positively by the ethnic majority of the country, they painted the entire Turkish and Muslim minority in the state as potential reactionaries that will, I don't know, support Turkey if it invades again, as a means to, I don't know, Bulgarianize them or whatever the fuck they used to say. Just one example out of many. Bulgaria is a long conversation. Bulgaria had a revolution imported to them. They didn't have a revolution themselves, which is a big factor. You should, if studying Bulgaria has taught me anything, and talking to Bulgarian communists and Bulgarian like centrists or whatever the fuck you want to call them, is that you should help local revolutions, but just like steamrolling through the capital and then putting a bunch of communist flags all over the place and be like, yeah, you guys are communists now, is only going to make them feel like this is an ideology of oppression that has been put down on them. And they might even agree with all of the policies, but they'll just feel colonized. That's what happened in Poland, and that's what happened in Bulgaria. And we are still seeing it to this day. Does that mean that the Soviet Union was imperialist? Absolutely not. Does that mean that it is exceptionally problematic to repeat myself, to just steamroll in and be like, yo, you guys are red now, without them even knowing what red means, has shown to us pragmatically throughout history that doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like, we saw it. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Like, this is not me pulling it out of my ass. It just doesn't. And specifically when it comes to Bulgaria, if I fucking know a lot about a fucking particular country's socialist experiment that I really, really utilize as criticism of previous socialist experiments, which ironically, it's always Marxists doing the most. We do more criticism of ourselves than almost any other category, is that. Ceausescu's Romania is another good example. I don't even want to... On Ceausescu's socialist Romania, I am one of those annoying Marxists that unironically say that was not socialism. On Romania, like I say, Poland was socialism, Bulgaria was socialism, Soviet Union was socialism, Yugoslavia was socialism, all different interpretations of it, etc., etc. Romania was not socialism. Romania was an absurd, weird, idiotic fucking mess, fucking bullshit. That shit was... God, the fuck was Romania back then? Substantive criticism, yes. Don't even blame you. Many of us Romanians very much agree, right? There you go. We have Gabriel, literally an OG in here. That was the fucking hell, man. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. It's going to take so long for our Romanian comrades to wash themselves of that shit. That was, yeah. Anyways, my beautiful chatters, my beautiful pieces of shit.
We will all go together when we go. What a comforting fact that is to know. Universal bereavement.